All right, guys, I want to talk about hedging, and in particular, hedging on futures bets. So, what exactly is a futures bet, and what is hedging? Um, I get this question a lot going into events like the Super Bowl, which are coming up here. We're in 2021. We're a week away from the Tampa Kansas City Super Bowl here in Tampa. And I'll get this question often, especially since I gave out Tampa as one of my futures plays before the playoffs started. So a lot of you from the Sports Bet Army are watching this now and asking yourself, should I get out of that futures bet on the Bucks to win the Super Bowl at plus 1,000 that I had given out? I'm going to give you the answer right now in short, and then explain to you why the answer is what it is. The answer is no, you should not be getting out of that bet. You should not be hedging. Hedging, I hate the term hedge, because a hedge to me is a little differently coming from a background of trading and options trading in currencies. We often will hedge when we put the trade on, put the position on. There's a hedge on that. You're going to be trading based on the outstanding position, or the main position that you put on. You might be trading in and out of that position. Same thing really holds true when you are placing a wager and you're betting. You need to have a strategy from the time that you put that bet on. So, firstly, what is a futures bet? It's a bet on an event that's going to take place most likely out in the distant future. Um, Often you'll be making bets on the World Series, the Super Bowl, the NCAA basketball champion, and you're doing it at some point during the season. So there are still many options as to who may be able to win that championship. Thus, you're going to get fairly decent odds, because it is not easy, even for the best team, to go on and win championships, as we know. So in this case, I put these bets on prior to the playoffs. I like to do that every year. I do a whole playoff analysis, and the Bucks were one of the teams that we have here on a futures, and now here they are at plus 1,000, which means 10 to 1 odds to win the Super Bowl, and they're sitting there now in the Super Bowl game with a very good chance to win. And if you look at the odds of them winning, it's somewhere around 40%. All right, a little bit less, maybe 38.5% if you really look at it closely, but we're in that ballpark. So much better than the 10 to 1 odds, of course, that I was getting prior to the playoffs, because now they've gotten past three teams and they're there. So why do I say no to hedging? Well, you understand what a futures bet is. The hedge bet, I view it as more of scared money. It's you trying to not lose, as opposed to winning the maximum amount of money you can over time. Now, why is this not a strategy that's going to win you the maximum amount of money over time? Well, there's a thing called juice. Those of you familiar with it understand that you pay juice on every single bet you make if you're making it with a bookie, because that's how they make their money. You can see the juice really clearly if you are betting spreads during the NFL season, during the NCAA season, or whichever it is that you're spread betting. It's real easy to see exactly what the juice is, because more often than not, it's going to be minus 110. That 10 cents over the what 100 would be even money. That 10 cents over is going to be the juice added by the books. So if you take a game typically on a Sunday, it's going to be +3 on one side at minus 110, -3 on the other side at minus 110. There's a 20-cent spread in there. That is the juice, the vig that the house is taking. When you play futures, you don't really see the juice as clearly, because you're looking at maybe 30, 32 teams, and they've all got a price, and you'd have to really do some calculations to figure out what the house edge is and what the house is taking in juice. And even in the futures, it's not as clear. It's not as clear cut as it would be on a spread bet. A spread bet we can assume is a 50-50 proposition. It's like flipping a coin. If I flipped a coin with you and we were playing that game, if we were just two friends in a bar and we said, "Hey, $50 right now, heads or tails," and we flipped it, neither one of us are going to take juice, because we're having a friendly bet. So I'm not going to ask you to pay me 110 on 110 juice. So on a $50 bet, I'm not going to ask you to pay $55 to your 50 if you lose, right? But if you said, hey, would you mind? I want to flip 100 coins. You want to take the other side of that bet against me? And I said, sure, I'll do it, but I'll do it at 110 juice. Well, now every time I flip, you flip that coin or I flip that coin, every time I win, I'm going to make 10% more than you do. And what we call that, the way to figure that out, and obviously common sense would tell you I have the advantage, but we could figure it out with EV, expected value. So 50% of the time, you're going to win that bet and you're going to win $50. So that's 50% of $50 is $25. You're going to lose again 50% of the time, but you're going to lose $55. So now you're going to lose $27.50 50% of the time. When you add those two numbers together, there's a difference of $2.50 to your minus. And if you play this game over time, you're going to lose $2.50 every single flip on average over time. The more we flip it, of course, the closer to that average we're going to be. Well, the same thing holds true in sports, except we don't view it often as that we know. Like, we know what the coin flip's going to be. We know the probability of that. I look at sports betting exactly the same way. There's a probability on the event happening. If it's a 60-40 event like the Super Bowl looks to be, in my mind, it's no different than if I just put 6 white marbles in a bag and 4 black marbles in that bag and picked out of the bag. The white marbles will represent Kansas City. The black marbles will represent Tampa. And, if I do it once, I can hit the black marble once. I got a 40% shot of it. If we play it over time, it's going to come out. It's going to distribute properly right around 60-40. So when we do the expected value, so in this case, we're going to do I'll get into the expected value. Let's get into that actually after I explain how you should have been betting this in the first place, which is what I wanted to get to. Let's go back to the day you made that bet. Now, did you make the bet with the intention of hedging? If you did, then you probably should have been risking a higher amount. Now, what amount should you have been risking in the first place? I always advise you should be risking a to win a unit amount, not a to risk a unit amount. What does that mean? To win a unit, let's say you are a $100 bettor typically, that would be your unit size. And I always recommend a unit size somewhere around 1 to 3% of your overall bankroll. And I've gotten into that in other videos on bankroll management, risk management. So let's say $100 is your unit size. If you were betting the same bet, Tampa, at 10 to 1, plus 1,000, you should have bet $10 to win 100. Not 100 to win 1,000, which is almost what everyone does. Because if you are making these typical type of bets, if you bet 10 to 1 and 20 to 1 shots, and you just always put the same amount of money on that bet, inevitably, you're going to lose your bankroll. Because no matter how much value I have on a 10 to 1 bet, I may have thought this should have been a 7 to 1 bet. But 7 to 1, if I'm 100% correct, is still not going to happen often enough. And I can easily be correct and lose that bet 25 times in a row. It can happen. And then I'm going to wipe out my bankroll. So that's why we play this on a unit, to win a unit and not to risk a unit. So if you did that improperly from the beginning, which you probably did, if you're watching this video and you're looking to get some advice on hedging, you more than likely over bet your future. You risked way too much. And if that is the case, you now know what you need to do. And then I would say, go ahead, pay the juice that you're going to have to pay now to get out of that bet, and go ahead and book your win, book some profit, and then learn in the future, don't do that again. If you did it properly, if you put that $10 bet because you're a $100 bettor, then do not hedge out of this bet. Reason being, you are lowering your expected value. Your expected value on this game right now, let's just assume it's exactly 60-40, which is close to it right now. And the way you can figure that out is just kind of look at the money line. So you've got like a minus 170 money line on Kansas City, and you're getting plus 150 on Tampa. So you'd want to take the middle. That's probably, you'd figure the middle there, 160 is probably the fair line, because they're going to juice it up. You're going to pay juice on the Tampa side. You're going to pay juice on the Kansas City side. and somewhere in the middle is what the actual fair market value is, at least just based on the Vegas line, assuming you're not working with a model. And if it's 160, the way you figure that out is you would take 160 divided by 100 plus the 160. So it would be 160 minus 160 divided by 260 comes out to 61.5%, as I just did on my calculator here. So let's just call it 60% to make the numbers easy. Okay, so 60%. Let's figure out the EV quickly. If you bet $100 on this event, or let's say you bet it properly, you bet $10 on this event to win 100 because you're a $100 unit player. $10 of risk, $100 is your reward here if you're correct. So 60% of the time, you are going to lose this bet with Tampa, meaning 60% of the time, you are going to lose $10. So 60% of $10, $6. 40% of the time, you are going to win this bet, and you're going to win $100 40% of the time. 40% of 100 is $40. Now, I take the $40 that I'm expected to win when the game wins, my $6 expected loss on losses. That difference is $34. So that's my EV is $34. Now, if I play this game over and over and over again, I'm going to continually win $36 on average with this bet. That's a great bet, right? I'm obviously in an enviable situation. I've got the book on the run. I've got the advantage over the sports book now because I've withstood all the events that could have happened to knock Tampa out of the playoffs, and they have not. And here they are, one game to go for me to win. Now, we do know the probability is they're going to lose this game. They have a 60% probability to lose, but I'm getting paid handsomely and way over that amount or that probability that they'll lose. So if I had to play this now, of course, I'm getting plus 150. I got plus 1,000 before the playoffs started. It should be fairly obvious that it's riskier taking Tampa before they actually make the Super Bowl. Now they're here. I've got a good shot. So what you're doing is really taking the book off the hook. So when you make this hedge, you're taking them taking them off the hook. If everyone hedged their bets all the time, this would be an advantage to the sports book. But what you want to do here, we'll just look at what your expected value is going to be. I'm not going to do the full calculations here, but just know it just makes total sense. If I had to now bet, and I said that there's juice on that game on the money line, if I bet Kansas City on the money line, they're giving me, if the fair line, if we can assume the fair line should be minus 160, they're taking 10 cents at minus 170. So I'm automatically paying 10 cents to get out of my original bet. So I'm going to drop my expected value, no questions asked. Now you may ask, I have a Kansas City future. What if I take Tampa on the spread? Now I have a chance to win the middle. You're still paying juice and you're still at a negative EV. More complicated, but not terribly difficult to do. You'd figure out the expected value of Tampa winning the game outright, Kansas City winning the game outright and covering, and then Kansas City winning the game within 3 points, where you would catch a middle, right? So that would be how you'd want to bet that if you bet Tampa with the spread and hope that Kansas City wins the game by 3, you win both. You could do those calculations if you want me to go over it. Just hit me with a comment and I'll go over that calculation with you if you don't know how to do it. But again, what you'll find if you do that calculation is you are now going to be, your expected value is now going to be lower than that $34 we were talking about. And you don't really need to do the calculations, again, because you have to know that you're paying juice on every single bet you make. So if you're paying juice, you have to have a lower expected value than just letting it ride. So again, just to summarize, if you go back to the initial bet and you bet a proper bet size, and then you are now in the situation where you've got the book on the ropes, you are in a profitable situation here. You've got equity on that bet. Go ahead and let that bet ride. You don't want to take you don't want to give the house any more money than you need to. And by giving the money, you're giving them money in juice. I know it looks good. It looks enticing, like, hey, I'm going to win. I've already won. And that is true. If you hedge out, you will be profitable in that instance. But over time, you are going to lose some equity here, and you don't want to do that. So don't give the house any more of an advantage that they need. Don't give the sportsbook that edge that they need. And think about this. Why didn't you just play them to win the NFC Championship if that's all you wanted? right? You could have saved juice by doing that and played them to win the NFC Championship. But something tells me if you're thinking about hedging the Super Bowl and you're in this position, you would have been thinking about hedging that NFC Championship game as well. So where does it ever end? Again, proper planning from the beginning, proper bet sizing, understand what your objective is. And now if you've gotten that team this far and they're one more game away, don't give any of that juice back to the house. Let it ride, risk it, and be more profitable long term. Good luck, and we'll be back with some more videos hopefully soon.